All right, let me ask you a question. Do you know what Nike was originally called? I'm talking about Nike, the shoe and clothing brand. Do you know what it was originally called before it was called Nike? I'll let you think about it for a minute while I go through some of the top takeaways from today's book of the day, which is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And by the way, if you don't know, Shoe Dog refers to someone who has devoted their entire life to the shoe industry. Pretty crazy, right? Well, Phil started from nothing in Portland, Oregon. He really wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He did this school project. I think it was at Stanford. And this project always stuck with him. It was actually his graduate school project at Stanford. He was writing a paper and he was proposing the idea of importing high quality, low cost running shoes from Japan to compete with the more expensive German brands that were dominating the American market. And I think Puma was one of the competitors that they had dealt with. I don't know if that was one of the German brands that he's talking about. I'm not actually sure if Puma is German or not, but I know Puma in the book was one of his, competitors throughout as well too, as well as Adidas and, all the other ones as well. His journey was honestly like pretty amazing. And this book was actually really good. I mean, it's not really one where you can pick and choose. I guess you can kind of pick and choose chapters, but it's really more of like the timeline and story of Phil Knight and his origination all the way to building the massive empire, right? So the core insights that I want you guys to take away, that I took away from this, is always aim to win, learning from mentors. Innovation can turn challenges into opportunities. So we'll hop into the first one here, which is always aim to win. So Phil Knight's journey with Nike shows how important it is to always aim to win. And for Knight, winning wasn't just about making money or being number one in the market. It was honestly about surviving and, also beating the odds and all that kind of stuff. There were many times where Phil/Nike almost went under. And I mean, there's so many crazy stories, from crazy lawsuits to running out of money to having notes that were due to having manufacturers fall through. There was just all these crazy things that were happening, and they were all happening at scale. But focus helped him get through the financial troubles, the tough competition, personal sacrifices, legal stuff, everything. And he believed that aiming to win always gave his company a purpose. It kept him on track even when they were going through some of the hardest times. He made sure his team always felt the urgency to compete and also innovate. So another suggestion here is that if we don't aim to win, how can we win? And Knight is telling us to start by aiming to take first place. He's telling us that we need to assume that we're going to win. Right? I mean, I know we do a lot of things in life and maybe we're thinking to ourselves, I don't know if I'm going to be the best. Well, why not? Why not? You totally can be. You know what I mean? Maybe you can't be the best at everything. And that kind of goes back to focus and, finding your why and kind of focusing on one thing. But why can't you be the best at the one thing that you're focusing on, right? You totally can be. So that's the first key takeaway, which is always aim to win. And honestly, if we want to summarize that even more, assume you're going to win, right? Plan that you're going to win. Now, the next one is learning from mentors. And I really wanted to include this one because it's a reoccurring theme in a lot of the books that we've been reading. And so Phil Knight had this relationship with a guy named Bill Bowerman. And this was a really important relationship that actually shaped the journey for Nike. And honestly, Nike probably would not have happened potentially without Bill being involved. And so Bowerman was Phil's track coach at the University of Oregon, and he was really more than a mentor. He just inspired the heck out of Phil Knight and just taught him everything basically that he knew. And Bowerman was constantly researching and doing these crazy inventions for running shoes because he was the track coach. And so his idea was if I could make their shoes lighter, if I could make them bounce better, if I could do this, that, or the other thing, what would happen is that those shoes would the shoes being lighter or more efficient would shave time off the clock. and that would ultimately lead to more races. And what's crazy is like it worked. Like the adjustments that they made on these things were pretty crazy, and they worked. They didn't always work, but they worked a lot. And so, but yeah, the Bowerman's mentorship was really beyond just technical advice. He was also giving Phil Knight really valuable business insight as well, because he was a little bit older, more advanced. So his practical way of solving problems helped Knight navigate through tricky situations in the industry. And kind of a key point here is that if we find ourselves kind of stuck or at a standstill, a mentor could be our next course of action, right? In order to help us not get stuck. Okay, so learning from mentors is a major takeaway from this. And then the last takeaway is that innovation can turn challenges into opportunities. So innovation can turn challenges into opportunities, which this is a key principle that pushed Nike to the top of the athletic shoe industry. They were faced with production problems, tough competition. Knight and his team always looked for new solutions no matter what. They created this thing. It was like the waffle trainer, which was like a shoe, right? And it's a good example because it was inspired by a waffle iron. And Bowerman made a shoe basically that had better traction and like cushioning, which really changed the game in the market at the time, because there wasn't a product like that. And so the innovation approach not only fixed product issues, but it also set like new standards for the footwear as an industry. And it really helped Nike grow. And so I'm not sure about you, but I feel like there's always a lot of problems to deal with. And I'm going to be trying to see the problems as opportunities instead. And I'm hoping that you'll join me on that, because if we can, take our challenges, our problems, our issues that we have, and we can not see them as problems or issues or anything, but we can then see them as opportunities, I think that that's going to be the key, because it was the key for Phil Knight throughout the entire book. And it was to innovate, right, based on the problems that they were having and stuff. So remember to always aim to win, to learn from mentors, and that innovation can turn challenges into opportunities. You can get a copy of Shoe Dog on my little article that I have. I have a link to the book. And then Nike was originally called Blue Ribbon. So there was some crazy legal battle between Phil Knight and the Japanese manufacturers that were originally making the shoes for them. They were Blue Ribbon for quite a long time, actually. But he ended up making a new company just so that he could comply with the law and his contract and not violate anything. So Nike was original Blue Ribbon. I love that he came up with Nike. I think it's a great name. I know that when they were trying to come up with the name, they were just putting all these like random things out because they weren't sure about it, but they wanted it to sound cool and stuff. And so there wasn't really like a science to them coming up with Nike. It's not like some big branding agency came up with the name. It was him. And they did have like one person though from, I don't know where they picked her up at, but she was really involved on the branding. I remember he was talking about that for like a few pages in the book. But she helped with a lot of the design stuff and even played a contributing factor in the name as well. So there's your little tip of the day. Hey, thanks so much, guys, for taking the time to watch this. I hope you're doing well. If you need anything, feel free to reach out. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.